Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily AI Show. I know people magically appear while we had the quick intro there. That was amazing, Ann. Welcome to the Daily AI Show. Today is December 2nd, 2025. We appreciate everyone being here. Thanks for everybody jumping into the comments. With me today, we have Beth, Andy, Ann, and I'm Brian. So really happy to see all of y'all smiling faces. Beth was just asking yesterday. I kind of bowed out. I just was not what the feelings weren't feeling yesterday as I was going through the show, and I had to bail out. Not because of Andy or Beth or Karl, but I'm feeling a little bit more right with the world today. So happy to be back. On today's show, we're going to be obviously digging into a little bit of the news that's coming out because there's quite a bit. And then we're going to get into stuff about whether shipments and whether we can expect it this year, whether that's a good thing, whether that's like what comes along with that. And then Beth, remind me one more time, what was the other thing that you just talked about? Something about a red paper or something? What was the other topic?
It is part of Shipmas or Now, which is what I've called the segment. We'll go into the Code Red memo that Sam Altman put out. So
Code Red memo. That's good because I think Andy was saying this too. I don't know anything about that. So I'm going to learn along with everybody else on that as well. And yeah, I think let's kind of just get into it as far as what we got for the news. I have sort of a fun one, although I kind of wish it had, like, I'll reload it here and see if it works. But this is just sort of a silly, fun one. I'm going to actually bring it up on screen. But for those that have had kids, I feel like, Andy, this is maybe the most in your neck of the woods because of your grandson. So like, let's pull this up really quick because, you know, it is that time of year for Santa. And so for those of us who remember, there's NORAD, which is what is helping us track. That's the North American Aerospace Defense Command, and it tracks Santa. I remember doing this with my daughter, and fun little animations that show where Santa was along the globe, and it was always something fun. It's a good memory for me and with my daughter. And so OpenAI yesterday announced that them and the NORAD team have teamed up to bring new magic to the NORAD Track Santa, which I think it's fun that we sort of have an AI-ification of this. So we have three different parts here. It says that they're helping out with. We have the Elf Enrollment, which is a playful photo tool, which literally just broke as I tried to use it. So yay OpenAI on that one. And so that's helping them create like these images that you can see here on the screen. We'll see if we can get mine to work. Then we have Santa's Toy Lab, a tool that lets parents turn their child's most imaginative toy ideas into a printable coloring book page. That's super fun. I actually remember doing that about a year or two ago with my own daughter. Even though she was a teenager, we would use AI to make coloring pages, which is a super fun way to use the tool. And Santa's Toy Lab turns it into a simple line art that's perfect for coloring. Love that idea. And then we have the Christmas Story Creator, a playful fill-in-the-blank style storytelling tool that lets families plug in names, places, and fun details to create one-of-a-kind holiday tale to read aloud. Well, you all already know that I love a good choose your own adventure, or sort of the what was the books you used to play as a kid with the fill-in-the-blanks? I'm drawing a blank. When you put in the adverbs and verbs. Mad Libs. Yeah, so kind of a Mad Lib style here. I haven't used that one. I love our little elf down here. So I'll see if I can get this to, let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. It started to make my elf, but it didn't quite get there. It's kind of just in this like in-between land. Anybody else feel like, I'll pull that up on it. If it works, I'll pull it back on later in the news. Anybody else feel like it's painful watching OpenAI create images after Gemini and Nano Banana Pro? Like, it's painful. I just can't. I can't. It's like, it's creating an image right now. I think we'll go through 3 more news stories before the damn thing finishes. So I don't know what OpenAI needs to do from the DALL-E side of the world. They don't call it DALL-E anymore. But
and you're muted. We can see you speaking. But
no, that's okay.
I was just beefing about. I cannot wait anymore. I only have one time around on this mortal coil, as far as I know. I can't be sitting here waiting like 12 seconds for something anymore.
I know.
Period.
And what I love about that is, like, as we're getting to the end of 2025, like, I love that we all have these. This is kind of what goes into the shipments thing that we'll talk about later about expectations, right, Beth? Like, that's part of that later conversation. We'll get to that. But like, yeah, it's like this whole thing about, like, you just kind of said it, like, oh God, that elf is horrible. Okay, well, now I have to put it on the screen.
So it made the elf, but
what are we doing? Share the stab. Share the stab instead. Hold on. What? Okay, look, hold on.
Who is it?
No, that's the one that broke. That's the image I gave it. So it wasn't like I gave it a bad image. And it's supposed to create this fun elf, and this is what it created. Now that doesn't look anything like the fun elves that they got. Where's my sprinkles?
Where's your sprinks?
Man, that was a disappointment. I don't know what. Anyway,
Sprinkles was the first hour, Brian. We don't have sprinkles for everybody. We're just counting on the hype.
I was expecting something better than that. That was like a weird. I don't even know what to make of that. Okay. Anyway, we're not trying to scare kids. We're just trying to turn them into elves. I think we need to open it. I don't know. Maybe because it wasn't a kid. Maybe I didn't have kid face proportions or something like that. Who knows? Anyway, let's move on to other news stories, because like this was just a fun NORAD one. So Andy, you're shaking your head.
That was a very festive opening. I really appreciated it. I'm smiling about it. But there's code red insinuation that there's something little nerve-wracking happening over at OpenAI, and I think it has something to do with Google. And Google, as you know, a couple of years ago, we were thinking, how can Google be so lame in the world of AI? And yet now they are, in my view, preeminent and moving faster and forward in ways that, we just really are going to be stunned by. And it's relevant to Shipmas because Google just keeps putting out new stuff. So here's one that I thought was really cool today. This is a preview. Somebody put that up on the screen. I just shared.
Hey, Andy, before you do that, can you switch your mics again? I think it's not coming through your Yeti right now. You sound like farther away, maybe. I don't know. Just try the other mic.
Okay, yeah, because right now on this, it says that Yeti stereo microphone is my one. Let me try the internal microphone and see if you like that better.
It's different than it normally is.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's perfect.
Let's do that one.
Okay, that's just the standard iMac microphone there. Okay. All right. So anyway, are you guys sharing my my screen now? Yeah,
we are.
Good. So Google has gems, and I'm now a gem aficionado. Like, I'm building in gems more than anything else, and I think it's really good. One of the things that was missing, though, is the ability for a project-like system that would retain multiple chats using that one sort of instruction set, like in a gem, and keep that context on an ongoing basis in the context of a project. Well, don't worry, Google has that coming too, and what you're seeing now is a preview of what their landing page will be for promotion of the projects feature that's going to be added to Gemini. And so obviously keep your chats all together. You can put a project together, and all the chats that you do with that one are kept within that same one. Whereas with a gem or with a custom GPT, you have a session which is a thread with that gem or custom GPT, and that's a separate sort of session history over there. It's not conjoined as it is in projects within ChatGPT, or now projects within Gemini. So go Google. Their stock price is way up there. It reached a high of around 328 when it was running around, high 200s somewhere, fairly recently. But all of that was driven by Gemini 3. And the shot heard round the world was when Gemini 3 came out, along with a bunch of other user available tools that exploit the capabilities of Gemini 3, plus VO3 and all of the and Nano Banana and everything else. So Google is really on fire right now, and its stock price is going. Kathy Wood, a major investor with ARK Innovation Funds, invested $55 million in Google just these past few days. Okay, so she's placing a big bet on the future of Google and how far we've come since just a couple of years ago when we were thinking they were behind the 8 ball.
And you say that, but I think I've also seen that the guy who's famous for The Big Short, like he's like pessimistic on it. I mean, he's kind of like betting on the bubble basically, and the short of that is so he's made some news about that part of it. But also, like he's famous.
He's shorted Google though. I thought he shorted Nvidia.
Was it Nvidia? Maybe I have that wrong. Yeah. I'll double check that. You might be right on that, Andy. Now that you say Nvidia, I was thinking it was Google, but yeah. Anyway. So that's sort of been circulating too, but like I don't really follow that as much. I mean, I watched the movie that he was based on, and it's a good movie. But I also saw like sort of some in the notes that like he's also famously missed since that time. And so yes, he's famous for The Big Short and that storyline and the movie that was made out of it. But it's not like this guy is an oracle. I mean, he's not. It's not like he's nailed everything that's come out since then. So. Makes for good news, I suppose, but whether it's usable or not, I'm not so sure. I'm kind of like with you, Andy, as far as like where Gemini has come in 2025 and where I think their potential is in 2026. I think Gemini and how they're integrating it. I was literally just making a slide deck this morning for a client presentation I have coming up in a couple of hours. And you know what? I mean, asking Google and Gemini or Nano Banana Pro to spiffy up a slide is very, very useful. And so I think this is Gemini. People are going to be using Gemini synonymous like they'd use Chrome. They're just going to be like, oh, I did that or whatever. And it's just the way they use their browser and everything else. So anyway, more news. Karl joined us too, by the way. Hey, Karl. So we got 5 of us here. That's nice. Just missing Jyunmi today. So all right, moving on to other news. And since you're our guest co-host today, what do you have in terms of news? And you're on mute. You're still on mute, Anne.
Okay. As I warned the people in the chat, the side ponytail is in effect. Okay. I am in mean mom, crash out, bossy pants mode, and there's no changing it. So here's what I'm coming in. I've been described as a Mack truck full of marshmallows, which fits. But today the marshmallows are like tacks. They're like little bombs. And so here's my beef. There's a bunch of articles. There's a whole viral trend right now going on. And I mentioned this in a previous show about algorithmic bias and gender on LinkedIn. And this is undoubtedly going to end up being like a big, big deal, because what's happening is this is absolutely positively cutting women off from opportunities. I mean, you could go down the list of all the bad things that are happening because women are being suppressed on the platform. And just in case there's anyone in the crowd who might think that this is about women whining, this is not about women whining. This is not about us like, well, the algorithm doesn't, give us enough attention. This is like full on, well-documented, hundreds and hundreds of cases of data comparing and contrasting what happens. For example, we now have hundreds of women who have they have bro-coded their LinkedIn profiles with all of the words, like where this is all, don't anybody here get their feelings hurt. Bro-coded terms like, I did this, like 100x, like those kind of terminology, that kind of terminology that is stereotypically more male. Also, they've changed their gender to male, and they've changed their, in some cases, they've changed their profile picture. So what's happening is like the standard downward spiral that occurs with algorithmic bias. So you start out maybe with just like our, like invisible biases, right? We think men, even deep down inside, internalized misogyny is a real thing. So even women sometimes think that men are more credible, especially in our case in tech and other STEM fields. Then you go to the people in charge. Then you go to the data that's being compared and contrasted with 30 years of hiring data, which is going to be predominantly skewed toward white males. So it goes on and on and on. And this is why I'm in crash out mode, because it's like, it feels some days like, what is the point of trying to do a damn thing to make it better? We are drops in a bucket. Not even. We are angel tears, whiffs of drops in a bucket. There's nothing. It feels as though there's nothing we can do. However, for the people who give a shit in the crowd, I did post on LinkedIn and TikTok 5 examples of things that can be done. One is to sign a petition at change.org. You can't not find it there. Go to change.org, put in LinkedIn. It's going to pop up. It's really important because this will all contribute either to the really positive trend that we're seeing with consumers putting pressure on companies and companies doing something about the things that they're doing right in public before our very eyes. Also, you can engage with women's posts. Like, that helps. And LinkedIn right now prioritizes saving and sending. Send it to your friends to get algorithm juice. Save it to your wherever the saves go on LinkedIn. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, comment, do those things. It makes a huge difference. And what will happen is your feed will start bringing more women into what you see every day when you open up your app. That makes a huge difference. And then one more thing is, when you see women who are rock stars on LinkedIn, don't pretend that they are not speakers, somebody you should write a recommendation for, somebody you should consider in your hiring pool. Like, just like IRL, it's like on social media where you have, like, hopefully you have that moment of, there's something about my bias that's preventing me from putting this woman forward, or something like that. Manels are a huge deal. They're a problem. This is typically an all white male panel. If anyone cares, I'm connected to almost 2,000 women in AI, pretty much all of which are great potential speakers. So the algorithmic bias situation is going to blow up. I don't know what's going to happen. People in our group are preparing for, people who are like in our community, broader speaking, are preparing for a class action lawsuit. And I encourage people to check into it, because it really is a canary in a coal mine for other negative effects of algorithmic bias, and it could go on forever and forever. This is why I'm in crash out mode and do a lot of damage to our whole society as women get again or further shut out of power and proximity to power. So check out change.org. Look at Cindy Gallup. Look at her LinkedIn feed, which seems to aggregate a lot of these cases of women changing their name, changing their gender. So that's my news of the day. It's not really great.
Wow, so
don't have anything to say about it.
There was one shining moment, though, which happened recently, and I hesitate to congratulate Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi, but
No,
they featured,
don't. You can't.
3 women, right?
But they featured
They
3
used those women, Andy. They used them. They used them to sell their stuff. And I could go on, again, side ponytail. I could go on about that forever. That was straight up exploitation.
Well, but the side effect of that was that anybody who was in that audience, and I don't know what the gender mix was, anyway, they would have left that saying, wow, women are leading AI. They're the ones.
Yeah, but no.
No, but there were 3 out of how many men?
Yeah, superficially, maybe, Andy, and I
apologize. I didn't watch the whole thing, so I only watched the women who I knew.
Yeah, so did I. But here's the thing. those women are showing up in my communities. The women who bought that stuff, they don't know how to do anything. They don't know what they bought. They bought it because they saw the women, they saw, Tony Robbins and Dean DeGrazia or whatever his name is doing their thing that they do. They were manipulated. I can talk out of both sides of my mouth. I can argue your point too, Andy, and I am very glad to see our dear, dear friends who we all have the utmost respect for. Absolutely. If they're qualified to do that, lots of women I know are just like one notch below that. And so that is a coup. However, the exploitation, which is a whole story unto itself, really leaves a bad taste in one's mouth. They exploited the guys too, but more the women. So,
I mean, it is but
it
was Tony Robbins.
Sales machine.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my 2 cents, everybody.
Well, thank you. We posted the link to your LinkedIn article in the chat. And there is a lively discussion happening in the chat, as always, for the Daily AI Show. So jump in if you would like. One of the things that I think is interesting in the comments about, because Gareth also mentioned he realizes that he's getting a lot of his AI news from women. I think because there are fewer women at the top, we recognize those names more. Like there are a lot of men at the top, and so those names are slightly less recognizable, at least for me, in that same kind of way. All right. Any other comments? Okay.
Yeah, I would say keep going if you got any. Let's wrap up on the news so we can get into talking more on the main topic as well.
Cool. So, longtime watchers and listeners will remember the clone robot, because maybe some of you had nightmares about it because it uses water-based tendons and muscle fiber kind of stuff. Well, they have created a working hand, because what you really want in that slightly see-through, loose, funky skin that covered it was something that could reach out and actually grab you with a firm robot grip. But they have, in fact, yes. Let me see if I can pull it up. There we go.
I was gonna say, do you have an image of it, Beth? Because like this, if for people who don't remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Beth, this is the one where it's got a very freaky, interesting looking body type that's like very human like, but they also had it like hanging from the strings and it was twitching in the video, and we were like, that's not okay. Like there's things nightmares are made out of. So that's the same company though, isn't it, Beth?
It is. It's Clone, and let's see. I should be able to share this. It's going to be just.
Jude said that thing is still in my nightmares. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Jude.
Right?
It's one thing if it's walking; it's somewhere slightly freakier when it was hanging from the 2 wires or whatever.
So what you're gonna see is the video that they released, and the person is using like a mocap glove, so it's generating the movement from a human, but we can see where this is going. All right, where are we? Brian, can you put that on screen?
I got you.
Cool. And you can see over, like, on the edge of the video where all the wires and things are. And, like, this is a glove, it looks like. I mean, this is both very cool and, yeah, awesome. Oh, look, slow-mo. Nice. Yeah. Okay, so I think it's pretty much all that, but really impressive innovation, right? And totally different than any of the other robotics things that we're seeing, which are not using this kind of more like anatomy-based moving like a human design. It's much more like Lego parts, right? So that they're reproducible, they can do specific things that function within a human world, which is why we see robots that are humanoid, because they, if we're going to put them in industry or wherever we're going to put them, they're built for humans, so they have to have some of that crossover.
But yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, like literally in my kitchen, when we talk about like, oh, everybody's going to have an AI helper in the house or whatever. But I thought, yes, I could see that, the Rosie the robot or whatever name your figure or whatever particular company you're following the most. But I think it will only work if the thing that you need done is not time dependent. If you want to give tasks to this future robot in your house for 20K or whatever, wow, it's going to have to be things that you don't really care how long it takes to get done. And my thought on this was, I was literally doing something we would all kind of do, which was I was putting away things that I had used to make a meal, right? So throwing something in the trash, turning around to the fridge, putting something back in the pantry. I would grab things with like these two fingers and then grab it over here. Just like things we don't even think about. And I just had this moment of realization that going, even the most dexterous, even robots with like this kind of hands and manipulation, that's not what you could expect. You could expect it to probably single-handedly take on one task, put this back in the pantry, then come back to start to repeat the next process. Well, that's not somebody who's going to go make me a sandwich, right? And I get that that's not exactly like what we're talking about in 2026. But as you show these, like I'm with you, Beth, like this is obviously the future, and the dexterity is going to be a big deal, especially in like the medical community where hell, I will take a robot that just helps people move people in beds and do rollovers. We used to have to do that as a firefighters, and just my heart goes out to all nurses and firefighters. It is hard to move somebody and roll somebody from a stretcher to a bed and do a sheet roll. And we have nurses that do this by themselves because they don't have any help, day in and day out, wrecking their back. So like little things like that, I could see, oh my God, this would be great. That would be helpful for. But I do think we're kind of like, it's fun to watch and stuff, but I go, yeah, but what's the real use case in an actual home about that? We joke about the recycling and taking out the recycling stuff, but in that particular case for you, Karl, like you would have to just be okay with it taking forever in a day to finish the recycling task. You couldn't be waiting on it or anything like that. It would have to be like a set and forget type of thing where you go and like, I don't care if it takes till 2 p.m. to get the recycling to my driveway. I only care that it's done correctly. But you also couldn't expect it to be done as anywhere near the speed that a human can pull it off. So anyway, just side note, because I happened to be thinking about it in my kitchen the other day about like, we're close, but also we're really not that close to this.
It's like really quickly, it's like a mild evolution of how we can control our Roomba with our phone.
Yeah.
Roombas can take literally all day. I don't feel like it matters that much.
Right. Like, all I want is the house clean. I don't care how fast you get the house clean. But there's 1,000 tasks that are time dependent, and like I think it's just going to be a lot of people really frustrated with the limited abilities of this whoever buys the 20K, 30K, whatever they cost. But anyway, go ahead, Karl. What were you going to say?
No, so I remember we joked about this a couple of weeks back. It isn't about the robot. Forget the robot. It's somebody controlling this thing.
Oh, wow.
And literally, I'm going to pay a company, like, hey, look, I need you to take on my recycling. I don't care about autonomous. I just need it done. So this person, wherever they are, controlling the robot and doing it. Or if you're super kind of lazy, but not lazy, you are controlling the robot to take out the recycling, but doing it in like a chair. Like, take out the recycling. Okay, no problems. I'm now going to control my robot to take out the recycling. Exactly. It sounds ridiculous, but it's amazing. All at the same time, it's like, that is the most awesome thing to be lazy at. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's lazy and genius all at the same time. But back to them, like, when you showed that, Beth, I was like, this is perfect. the better the person can control, the better that person can have take my recycling out and put it down and go outside and dump it off. This is perfect. I will pay whatever company to do that. It's like, you have a robot? Kind of not. This robot is being controlled for somebody out in wherever, and they do charge for me. And it's a robot doing it, but it's not really just being controlled by somebody else. So it's like as if you get cleaners to a place, and this is not talking about home too. It's like, imagine in like areas where it's difficult to do this type of work because it's toxic. You have robots doing all this, and somebody's controlling it, just like a drone, but like, you know, in somebody's basement or like a farm of a bunch of people controlling this stuff. So
Okay.
it's a great business.
Do you remember, not at this CES, but 2024 CES, there was a holodeck floor, right? And you could just like there were I don't know, it could go in any direction. You could stand on it, you could move in any direction
Better.
without
You don't need
without
controls.
actually moving, right? So that you could like, is this the new cubicle? Like we're in somebody's got a visor on, they've got like their controls in their hands or their mocap kind of stuff, and they're just walking on this floor that never goes anywhere in any direction. Like,
This is where the Neuralink is eventually gonna go.
yeah.
Like that's what it's gonna solve. That's
Oh,
that's
God.
the end use of Neuralink, of like controlling robots, so
And
you
it's
can.
Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
it's a disability employment initiative, everybody. Let's get really excited about it. It's like there's a whole series
Karl,
of books called The Ship Who Sang or something there, where like the ship is connected to the disabled person's brain, and like that's their body now. All right. Sci-fi AI show done. Come back to Daily AI show.
Yeah, can I throw in one important bit of news here before we go on to the main topic, which is part of the musical chairs that are happening at the top levels of AI development, and I wanted to talk quickly about a fellow, John Giannandrea, who recently was the head of AI at Apple, and before that. He didn't join Apple until 2018. Before that, he was at Google over all of AI and search. So he was one of the topmost people at Google. He moved over to Apple to run their AI, and he's out now. Tim Cook reportedly lost confidence in him after these repeated delays on improving Siri. And there's a new fellow who's coming in, also from Google. His name is Amar Subramanya, and he previously spent 16 years at Google, where he was the head of engineering for Gemini Assistant prior to his departure. Okay, and he's got deep expertise in AI and ML research and integrating that research into products. Tim Cook made an announcement. He's thankful for the role that John Giannandrea played and so on. But AI has been central to Apple's strategy, and we're pleased to welcome Amar to Craig's leadership team. There's in the organization at Apple, there's a fellow who's over a bunch of different divisions, and so he's going to be reporting to this fellow Craig, why he's being referenced in that announcement. So anyway, Apple, which hasn't really had a real strong performance yet to date, but maybe coming to its fore. Let's not write Apple off yet. They've got new leadership now with Amar Subramanya, who's come over from. Actually, another quick point again about the musical chairs. Amar left Google to join Microsoft to head up their engineering as corporate vice president of AI in July of this year. Okay, so. He was at Google, he moved over to Microsoft, and now he's going to Apple.
And that quickly, too. You have to wonder what was going on at Microsoft that he would bounce that quickly.
Maybe not enough. Maybe not enough.
Like we talk about the shell game of the money, right? Because it seems in some ways like a closed circuit of money going around. We'll buy your things, your stock will go up because we announce we're going to buy your things. So then you're worth more money, and maybe we didn't even have to buy it. That kind of stuff. I wonder if that's also what's happening with talent, with tech talent. Like, are they just trading the same people? Are new people coming in? Or are they just trading the same people all around? Because there's a limit of the top experienced talent. Because how can you be experienced in this as a new person more than 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah.
All right. And on that note, let's get to segment 2, because we're actually a segmented show some of the time and perhaps more of the time as we move forward. This segment I have called Ship Miss or Nah, because at this time last year, Shipmas was already being hyped. We knew that something was coming. There was buzz about it. Shipmas was announced on December 4th, and it started on December 5th. So it is seeming like there is perhaps not a Shipmas happening from OpenAI this year. There have been discussions in one of the OpenAI dev forums, and like it seemed like they were considering it, but also there seemed to be leaks from the devs at OpenAI saying, please no. That's like really hard to get everything together to do all of it, and it's right before the holiday. So that's the first piece of information. The second piece of information is this leak-ish of Altman's Code Red memo, which seemed to be in response, and it's an internal memo, seemed to be in response to Google and Gemini taking over the top leaderboards of their things. And I suspect pairing with that, a general disappointment with 5.1, which was going to fix 5. It's not like it did make 5 better, right? 5.1 is noticeably better than 5, but compared to other things, and also the DeepSeeks that were just released, the new models are equal or higher than what they're doing. So even though we just had a conversation like last week, this week, about moving toward ads, right? They're going to add ads, they're going to do a bunch of stuff. Karl talked about Pulse. What we're seeing is information saying that they're pausing that and they're devoting everything to the launch of a new, better model. So the idea here is, does it matter if Shipmas happens, right? Does the lack of Shipmas hype and leak of the Code Red memo mean panic, strategy, stagnation, chasing, leading? Like, what do we think?
One thing I want to comment on this is I would listen to it's the Core Memory podcast. So you have Mark Chen, who is the OpenAI chief research chief, is there, and he gets asked a lot of these questions. And if you're like totally a geek into AI, these are the type of people you want to listen to. The chief researcher at Anthropic, chief researcher at OpenAI. This is why I'm always wondering, like, what is Alexander Wang, what his comments are, because I haven't heard from him on podcasts or anything since taking over, and that's a pretty significant role. I think you've got to say, hey, what is the vision? And in this 1.5-hour podcast, he lays out like some really in-depth things of what they're looking to do, why they're doing certain things. So I think, like, before you get into the information stuff, listen to this. It was put out yesterday. Very, very good interview. He goes everything from how they allocate compute, why they're talking about scaling versus it is scaling over pre-trained versus not pre-trained. The interviewer asked him specifically about Gemini 3, and his response was like, hey, we've got a bunch of models internally that already beat it. It's just we're going to release it, and we're going to release the one which is even better. So, and the thing is, when he's talking, it's not like it's like talking like a researcher rather than it's like a CEO who's trying to, you know, hype your company. It's very, very like, this is why we do things. He asked about like the coup, what happened during that time, and how essentially he was able to keep in the research side close to, or if I don't know what it was, 100% of his staff. Like they actually did a 2 a.m. Everybody signed the memos like, hey, we've got a mission. This is our mission. Like, I know everyone's trying to pilfer you and stuff. Like, can you sign? Like, we're all in it together. And that, from what he was saying, is like everyone was in it, and that's what they were talking about. Then he starts talking about like hackathons and like the things that they were doing, and you know the coding competitions between the United States, China, Russia. It was really cool about that. Then is Scaling Dead, the AGI timeline, and really the big focus for them is automating research within 2 years. Hence the research intern for next year. He was talking about the future of AI hardware. He gets I think he gave. I don't think he gave it away, but he was like, it's a good, I would have you listen. And then he was just talking about DeepSeek, like the recent DeepSeek stuff, and then schemes and like preventing scheming models and things like that. So I think it's like a fantastic listen, hour and a half. It's not all over the place, but it's worth listening to, because it was like, okay, you kind of get the long term. I don't know how true that reporting is. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I'm like, this is a better listen if you're looking more at the long term of AI rather than, hey, what's the next model release?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And just the fact of that podcast would also be like Shipmas Na, right?
I don't know, like the information said there'll be a reasoning model next week being released. That's better, but it's interesting that coincides with Mark saying, yeah, we've got models who are way better than that, or beat that and better, and it's just like, we'll release them. So I always go back to, they're like, all these labs have models that are better than what we've been playing with. It's just, is it safe? Like, do they have the compute to release it? Like, what is all that? Because I'm sure Sam, Mark, they're probably playing with stuff that just looking at us, you're like, you got no clue what actually really is. You're just playing with like this thing. And it's always, I think it's always been, we've always talked that they must have the access to better things. It's just, you know, there's reasons why they don't put it out until certain times.
And will you say the name of the podcast again?
Yeah, it is the Core Memory Podcast, and the episode is called "OpenAI's Research Chief is Ready for War."
Ooh, all right.
I mean, my take on the Shipmas thing is, if you're in a defensive position, I can see why Shipmas can be detrimental to the company as a whole. If you're in a position where the general consensus is OpenAI is on top and they're just making it better, then Shipmas is fun. It's lighthearted. It's call Santa. It's we added this 1-800 number. And I said at the other show, I would still be in favor of those types of updates. But that's me. And I don't think I'm the target audience per se. So if the feeling internally from the internal, you know, red alert or otherwise, which is only ironic because it was only 2 years ago that Gemini had one or Google had one, is that if that's where they feel like the focus needs to be and that they're falling behind, then there's probably not a lot of value for doing Shipmas, because almost anything that you release is going to be held up with to a microscope to say, this still doesn't make 5.1 better. And I can see how you would have to get in more of a defensive position for something that should be a little bit more lighthearted. Mm-hmm. That was like sort of the fun of it. And they were telling dad jokes for everybody that remembers last year. And it was just sort of like a fun thing that they did. So in that sense, I would say Shipmas nah. Also, and I will say this a lot. I mean, Andy, you've said you've been building a lot with gems. Anybody else is using Gemini. I go back to this. Claude 5.1 and the previous versions of Gemini all had a similar cadence or way that they interacted with you. It is not until Gemini 3.3 Pro that I have seen a distinctly different way that the AI is interacting back with me. And it's across all builds. It's not because of prompting. It is because of the way that model is built. I think that is the next iteration, next version of how you interact with AI. And I think they did it the right way by probably building a year or two ago and saying, we're going to build this from the ground up as multimodal. Because what I think you're seeing now is that this was a smart move for Gemini in Google in terms of how you're going to interact with the Gemini models in all the other applications that Google owns, from YouTube all the way over to building slide decks and, Google Docs and things like that, as well as many others, I'm sure. But it's fundamentally different for me. It's a different experience. And I think I don't really care much about a 5.2 or 5.3 that, get rid of the M dash, although that was great that 5.1 finally did seem to solve it. I haven't seen M dashes for anything new now for it. And that's great. It's a nice thing to see that they could finally solve for that. The end of the day, though, is 5.1 still acts and reacts like 5. And, as much as people love 4.0, it reacts like 4.0. I don't have a problem with that per se, but you've shown me something different. And if other people are seeing what I'm seeing, which is is sort of the general consensus, I do not hear people talking negatively about Gemini or Nano Banana. I just don't. I don't hear people talking about having negative experiences using those AI chats right now. So, I'm an N of one. I get it. I don't know everything and all that's going on out there, but those two things to me, Gemini feeling different, and it actually perhaps being more of a negative experience for an OpenAI, that would lead me to say, no, don't do ship miss. It probably will not be a positive experience for OpenAI.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you've had a recent history of releasing things that have hype but then disappoint, you probably, maybe don't do 12 days of that.
Yeah. Even if the intent, right, was, Beth, that they're supposed to be like little things, like you said it the other day about projects and organization, and these will all be welcome improvements. Now, if that's where they put the focus and it wasn't about like how 5.1 reacts or responds, then I do think there could be because you're not really talking about the model, you're talking about the overall user experience inside of ChatGPT. And just like Karl was talking about, I mean, again, I've mentioned several times that one of the live announcements 3 weeks ago or so, maybe a little more now, where it was Sam and an engineer that I said looked like he could be a sibling of Elon Musk. They look very, very familiar, similar to me. But regardless, that guy, whatever his name was, straight up said ChatGPT will not look like ChatGPT in 2026. It's going to look more like a operating system. Like you're going to go into it and there's going to be ways to connect to other people, making other tools and yada, yada, yada. If that's the focus, I think then your focus for anything you do in Shipment should be on a better user experience, not necessarily the model giving you better results or whatever that might be, but just an overall, when I log into ChatGPT, what is the user experience? That's where I would say focus. That's where I think you can make the biggest gains.
Yep. And actually, if we think about it, Shipmas last year was sort of the beginning of the visible shift toward the general user.
Yeah.
Right? So the user didn't need to know how to prompt or do those sorts of things, right? You can call a 1-800 number and chat with ChatGPT. That's not prompt engineering. So, yeah. All right. The other comment that I made in the chat a while ago was, is Shipmas being hosted by Google this year? All right, have we already started Shipmas with all of Google's releases? And that's just where we're going to get. So,
well, I did want to just bring this up really quick because I just saw this as part of the news. I just didn't get it to in the news section, but it's sort of in this idea. I'm bringing it up right now. This is from Kling.
Upscale.com. AI
And
sales
look at
consultant
this
Yes.
post here. Kling Omni launch Kling Omni launch week day 1, introducing Kling O1, brand new creative engine, blah blah blah. Limited time offer available to subscribers. Stay tuned for more surprises. Kling appears to be doing, I don't know if it's 1 week or 7 days or whatever, but they clearly in this post are saying that they're going to have these like more drops, more surprises coming. So is this their shipments? Are we not going to see it from OpenAI? But in fact, we do see it from I don't know, name, like Midjourney, or like you name some other AI tool that we're all familiar with, because that could be the case. People could have seen what the success that OpenAI had it with last year. We don't see it from OpenAI, but we do see some version of this from smaller AI players who are looking for ways to be in the news cycle for 7 days, 12 days, whatever the case may be. And it appears that Kling is doing something like that. You can see their watch again here, with their brand new new things they have on their website, from video generation. They're basically saying they're like truly multimodal. And so they've got a lot of options on here that are kind of scrolling across the screen. So something to keep an eye out for over the next several days.
What I'm hearing is that Kling is the talking point seems to be that Kling is Nano Banana for video, and Runway's model is cinematic, potentially for people who really like value film and cinema and the ability to do that. Karl, have you played with either one as our resident?
Just waiting for it to be in Higgsfield, because it's like you have to get a Kling subscription, you have to get a Runway subscription, and I was like, because I know Kling will eventually end up in Higgsfield. I've never seen Runway in Higgsfield, so that's why I said Runway, and I was like, hey, put it into here. But I'm sure Seed Dance, something else, because of all the ones, Minimax Halo was the one that got in. I never heard of it until I actually saw it on Higgsfield. Like, what is this? I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. And so, but Runway has never been in Higgsfield, but I'm sure Kling will be. Oh, it's already here. Kling 01 video, Kling 01 video edit is here in Higgsfield. So
there you go.
Great.
And that was announced yesterday, so that just goes to show.
Yeah, so it's there. So
there's someone who has it for free. I'll pop it in free for the first week. I think it's in video, but I will pop it into our chat once I figure out which place is having it. There we go.
Just to kind of put a connection between the topic that I came in raring to go with, and this is, my son told me that over Thanksgiving that he wants to potentially be a science communicator. So both of my kids are doing all this stuff with, sustainability, which for the college kids means the environment. And he and my daughter is studying political science. Like my son in particular is thinking about the origin of language for science, particularly STEM fields. And his dad is he studies coastal geomorphology. So he's been raised in like a really strong science vocabulary environment, and I've worked for STEM for 30 years. So if we think about how some of these really vapid marketing terms or names of models have entered our lexicon, and the fact that in just 1 year, we have now accepted the term ship miss as like a word that means stuff and that we're comfortable saying, like probably the first time you heard that word, you were like, OpenAI, can you do better? Ship miss? Really? It's like not even good. And here we are, like, we've now said ship miss, 20, 30, 40 times on the show. It's just an example of how these, companies kind of live rent free in our brains a little bit.
To be fair, I believe OpenAI sort of defaulted to ship miss when everybody else did it, because their name was the 12 days of OpenAI, and that wasn't going to roll off our tongues. So
somebody else is the origin of ship miss.
I think so.
Probably.
Okay,
I
I
don't
was
think
just
it
going to
came
blame
from
them because
It
they're so
was,
bad.
it was the Daily AI show.
Of course it was. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I related to that, I'm just going to say, I doubt that Shipmas is going to find its way into Merriam-Webster's, list.
I don't know.
oh,
Word of the
will.
year?
Have you read Merriam-Webster's TikTok account? Because it's amazing.
No, I haven't.
It's great. It's all about origin of words and stuff. Like yesterday, they had me reading for a while. So like, kudos to them and whoever is running it about how in the has nothing to do with AI, but how the English language adopts words and things like, I can't remember all of them, but shrimp scampi means shrimp, and ahi tuna means tuna. And there was like all these they had all these different examples in there, and I was like, yeah, would have never thought about that in a world. And then somebody in the comment was like, who knew Merriam-Webster dictionary was going to take over my top dictionary spot, in 2025 or whatever. But anyway, it just goes to show when you put the right people on these accounts. Another one I'll give a plug for because I live in the town is if you ever want to see social media done right, it's the person running the social media account for Tampa Airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very, very good. And if you've ever been to Tampa, we have a giant flamingo sculpture named Phoebe. They named it. They had a big competition. I didn't name it. It's named Phoebe. It's a very cool sculpture, by the way, but it's a giant flamingo that looks like it's ducking underneath the water. It doesn't matter. But this person has a whole thing against Crocs. They've done a whole Croc movement on not wearing Crocs in airports and not like dressing down. And they will poke fun at people like through TSA that like it's their first time ever, having to deal with TSA and whatever. So it's actually really well done. Has nothing to do with it. I'm just saying, like, Merriam-Webster dictionary, great read on at least TikTok. I'm sure their Instagram and others are the same. And then the Tampa Airport. And then just to wrap up today, because I know you all were waiting with bated breath. You're like, but Brian, what about the elf? So I did rerun it one more time, and we came back with a much better result this time, where it's actually a bit of an elf. I did tell it that I liked pumpkin bread. That was my favorite holiday treat. And I like the color blue, which is what it asked me. So that's now what we got here on it. So loves blue, pumpkin bread, holly movie nights with family. And so that's the elf it gave me. So yeah. So little extra prompting to tell it that the first one was nowhere near what I wanted. And so now we have a better version of it. So anyway.
So this is not a takeout menu. They're not saying, do you want sparkles with that? You have
No.
to specifically request
No,
with sparkle.
It just obviously it apologized for its poor first attempt, and then wants to know now, do I want it to turn into a coloring book page? So there you go. It's got a follow up to it or whatever. All right, we'll leave it there. We're at time. So thanks for everybody hanging out. Thanks for all the lively conversation in the chat. Also, thanks for keeping it civil. I think it's great that people disagree and agree, but everybody is very polite in the chat, and I appreciate that. We all appreciate that because we're here for the conversations and to keep things at a professional level. So appreciate everybody there. Lots and lots of great comments in there from all sides. So thank you guys. Keep coming back day in and day out. And if you want to join us, you can absolutely do that and be part of the chat by joining us while we're on live, which is at 10 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. We've been doing it now for 600 plus episodes. Today's episode 607. So we've been doing it for a while, and you can keep coming back day in and day out and hanging out with us if you like to. If not, obviously, another great way to interact with our community is to be part of our Slack community, which is free. So you can go to the Daily I Show community.com in order to sign up for the free Slack community. Try to get better at putting more and more stuff in there. I have some music stuff to put in there for people who might care, are into that kind of stuff, and trying to share more from the show. So make sure you join up and sign up for there. I had some great prompts in there from a couple weeks ago that brought a lot of people in. So we'll continue to do that and make sure you guys have more resources inside that community. All right, that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. I believe Jyunmi will be here to help us run our Wednesday show. Always good to see him. And we will see y'all then. Have a fantastic day.